Welcome to the Pitting Combination Podcast. This is Winter Storm Warning Edition, I guess. JJ Pilcher, Dick Briggs, Wyatt Schultz, ready to talk a little college wrestling here between the two snowstorms from last weekend and what's expected to come here later this week. But guys, I think I have an idea that one of you two have been coming over and clearing part of my driveway. Has that been true?
Has it been getting cleared?
What?
It has been getting cleared?
I only did that time you were down in Florida. Otherwise, I said the heck with it. That's a lot of sidewalk.
Okay, I was going to say, because all of a sudden this last time around, like the front half of our driveway was done before we even got out of bed. So.
No, I'm sorry. That wasn't me.
Whoever the Good Samaritan is, we thank you. That was nice. And girls went out and finished stuff, but
might be ready. Cool.
I bet it was too.
Well, hey, this last weekend, in the midst of kind of the latest winter weather thing, Iowa had its second home duel, and only one to go after this, but Iowa had number 9 Illinois at home, and I tell you what, they look just as impressive as they had the first 2 or 3 duels that they've had, the first 2.
Yeah, I'm saddened that Michigan had their issues with COVID and that didn't happen, because that was the meet I think a lot of people were looking forward to. I don't know, has it been rescheduled, or have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything yet. I haven't seen anything. I know they said it was a possibility that it would be rescheduled, but I have not seen anything to this point saying when. And just looking at their schedule right now, it still says postponed instead of canceled, but it's not on the February schedule as of yet. So
and it would be a fun duel to watch just to see where both programs are at. At least that's my thinking. You got Penn State on the schedule yet, so I guess that's my thinking on that duel, just to see how they both stack up.
Exactly, and of course Ohio State coming up this week, right?
Right, Ohio State and Purdue. I mean, that's you can't overlook what Tony Ursuline has done there at Purdue, and they're coming in. It's 18th, and Ohio State's 11th, and I think they're just coming off a win against Maryland, I believe. But it's at Purdue on Super Bowl Sunday, so should be interesting. But man, this last Sunday. Still, I know we've talked about this a little bit about, are they this good, or are the other teams just not up to speed right now? But man, the front half of that lineup with Lee, DeSanto, Ironman, what Murin did, that was a quality win against Carr, and Young so far. That front half of the lineup has been exceptional.
Right. I think it has, but y'all at the same time you can't count out the other half either. Even though Nelson lost, I mean Bronigal's a quality kid, and the other thing I was looking at with Marinelli not wrestling, I thought it was great to see a Joe Kelly in there with a West Liberty kid. Getting an opportunity in maybe one of his final years.
Uh-huh.
Right. And, speaking on the front half of the lineup, I mean, holy cow, they haven't lost a match yet. Is that correct?
Right.
And I know they haven't had a lot of meets, but that's still impressive when you're going up against those teams in the Big Ten. The Murin win was nice. Number 6 over number 8 or in that ballpark, depending on which rankings you're looking at. And then Caleb Young's still throwing up big numbers. Good for him, huh? And then Kemmer, I guess that's the second half, but Kemmer, nice win as well.
What's kind of scary a little bit, because it's not just the way they've won, but Lee hasn't given up a point. I don't know if Murin and DeSanto have given up takedowns even. Ironman gave up one takedown to Chad Red, but other than that, they're not even hardly giving up any offensive points against some of these competitors. I mean that's about as good as it gets.
And the other thing is, it's not like they're wrestling a JV team. They're wrestling quality kids, and like DeSanto, what's he outscored them like 60-15 or something, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. They're just wrestling lights out right now.
Yeah, I think some of the drama was with Spencer Lee was whether or not he was going to get the tech fall or the pin.
Yeah.
Everyone's going, come on, get the pin. So, I mean, he still hadn't given up a point in that match. At 133, that's an interesting weight class nationally. I mean, DeSanto is ranked 5th, but honestly, the top 5 at that weight class I think any of them could win it. So, and I know Iowa thinks they can win it. DeSanto does. So, it's gonna be fun to watch that one. See how it plays out.
Yeah, and there'll be some tests here down the road. Roman Bravo Young here in a little less than 10 days. So you'll get a really good test there for DeSanto. But right now I think he's looked as good as he ever has.
Right. And sometimes you get a little worried when a new guy comes in and he's immediately ranked number 1. But with Ironman, I don't think that's an issue because he's been around the block, down in Missouri, and so I think he's fine with number 1. So he'll keep pressing to go forward and not look backwards.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. He says he was a little rusty to start, so we might be seeing the best of him here yet to come because he had wrestled a folk style match in well over a year because he was his Olympic red shirt, and he'd just been wrestling freestyle, and heck, it might even be two years almost. So he could be rounding into shape. The other performance that I thought was really good was Cassiope. Not only did he get a pin, but the way he bounced back after the Stevenson match, and like Tom Brand said at the news conference, he's not worried about Cassiope and what might happen. And it looks like he went right back to work, and I think people might be surprised that Luffman's ranked 5th. And here Cassiope was in control from the get-go and got that fall.
Yeah, and the other thing that fascinates me is to see a heavyweight get a cradle.
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, like I had mentioned before, these heavyweights anymore are pretty dang athletic. Mm-hmm. And any one of those guys could do the same thing Cassiope does. At least I just think that heavyweights are real athletic.
It's interesting you should bring up cradles and heavyweights because oddly enough, one of the best cradlers I ever saw, actually maybe even 2 of them, was Joel Justin Greenlee. So
sure,
Greenlees were great cradlers. Oh my gosh, So
you're the high school heavyweight that was a pretty good cradler, and Connor Herman too.
Oh yeah, that dude, yeah. Exactly. We were talking college, so absolutely, Connor Herman is probably the best cradler I ever coached.
So,
yeah.
The other thing that has to get touched on a little bit, Alex Marinelli, out of the lineup. Nothing really was confirmed. You can connect the dots. Um, there was mention of protocols and 17-day protocol. Um, he's in COVID protocol, but nothing has been confirmed about exactly, positive test or anything like that. Just know that he's going to be out of the lineup. Um, I don't know. It's going to be hit and miss with the Penn State duel. But is that a concern at all? With one, Marinelli missing or having to be quarantined for, 14, 17 days, whatever it might be. And then, not having him in the lineup against, teams like Ohio State and Penn State possibly coming up.
My question is the 17-day, is that a Big Ten rule?
I think so. I think it's a Big Ten protocol.
Yeah. And I know in the fall sports, it was a lot longer than other conferences, and never quite understood that. But do I think it'll make a matter? Pulling Marinelli out of your lineup always matters because he's so good. So when he's gone, yeah, it's a step down, no matter who's being put out there. Will it determine a dual meet? I don't think so, but I just think Iowa's that good, but we'll see.
And as Wyatt mentioned before, Joe Kelly stepped in. He's in the probable lineup along with freshman Brettley Reyna. So maybe we'll get to see the freshman there as well. It doesn't hurt any. This year is kind of a free year for eligibility, so why not? I guess but it's also nice to see somebody like Kelly get the chance. He comes from a family that is linked to Iowa athletics. He's right from the backyard pretty much with West Liberty and everything. So yeah, good to see him step in as they say, next guy in, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity for him, whether, how far in advance that goes, but any of those guys that step in, that it gives them the opportunity. You're working out in practice all the time, and it's not fun to not be able to get into some type of competition.
So this weekend coming up, we've got a double duel. Ohio State, it's 4-1 so far this season. About 9 ranked wrestlers in their lineup. Purdue 18th at 2-3. 6 ranked wrestlers in their lineup. Have you guys kind of looked at the kind of the pairings?
57.
57.
Yeah,
that's one that really stands out.
Well, as far as a decent matchup, I mean, I guess that was something that stuck out on me. Spencer's got a couple of ranked kids, but the way he has demolished those guys, it's just Spencer, I guess.
It's easy to write those off just because he's been so good.
Yeah, it really is. Then you look at the Ohio State duel with Sammy Sosa or Soso. Yeah, I can't get that baseball name out of there.
Sure.
But that would be another interesting one to see where Max is at.
Yeah, and that's both of Max's
right
matches. Perriot's not a bad 49-pounder for Purdue, so to have him and Sasso on the same day, that'll give them a little bit of a NCAA tournament, Big Ten tournament feel.
And then of course you got Max Lyon for Purdue, so we can't forget about Max.
Yeah, that's two Iowa kids likely going at it there at 184 with Lyon and Nelson Brands. But five state titles between the two of them.
Yeah.
Back to Spencer Lee, we're going to be disappointed when he goes into the second period.
Yeah, right.
We're going to go, what's wrong? What's wrong?
Yeah, he's been so darn good though. I mean, it's pretty interesting. 174 in the Ohio State duel. Kemmerer and Caleb Romero, two top four ranked guys, going at it there if the lineups hold true. Um, the one thing about Kemmerer that a couple things I kind of asked him about a little bit. One, I know there was the one hiccup in the Big Tens last year with Hall where he got caught in the neutral zone, uh, uh, neutral danger zone, and give up points, right? But other than that, I don't know if there's anybody that's had such great mat awareness. I mean, he comes out in positions and he wrestles through situations so well um, that I just I think it's impressive. Just just that part of his game and his mat awareness.
I think it's phenomenal because I went back this week and rewatched that Hall match and some of the positions that he got himself in that I don't know if you want to say scrambled his way through them or worked his way through them.
Mm-hmm.
He, like you say, his mat awareness is just unreal. Just
I,
working through those situations.
yeah, and there are points too where Minnesota he was dead to rights to give up a takedown, and somehow he fought out of it. Uh, Not only prevented giving up two, but then turned around and ended up getting two of his own. It's stuff like that. And I want to say there is something duel too where he just came out uh, and ended up getting points that you didn't think you know most people would get too. But
Where you think he's going to give up two and he's getting the two besides.
yeah, yeah,
Well, with Kemmerer specifically, he has great mat awareness, but wrestling right now is so much better. I mean, wrestlers are so much better. They all have that great mat awareness, especially with passing the ankles and legs and getting into those situations. But with Kemmerer, he brings, in my opinion, brings to the table a lot of good flexibility and really a lot of strength. And so put those together with that awareness, and it seems like he just can get out of stuff because he's got that strength and that power. Whereas a lot of times other guys aren't able to get out of it, and either goes into a stalemate or gives up the takedown or whatever. So, so I just think wrestling itself is so much better and so much more exciting right now.
yeah. It's interesting. Kind of forgot until hearing it on the broadcast with Shane Sparks and I believe Gibbons. Uh, you kind of forget he was a 49 pounder when he first got in the room. you know, he's gotten bigger and stronger, and it served him well at 74. And that was another thing I asked him yesterday during their weekly news conference about. He's 24, which is kind of long in the tooth for college wrestlers, a little bit. Um, I kind of asked him about that perspective, and if he's gotten to the train smarter, not harder point of his career yet. And he the only thing he really said about it was that he kind of gets some ribbing from teammates about being the old guy on the team and in the lineup and stuff like that. But thought it was kind of funny that he's kind of considered kind of like Luke Lofthouse. Luke Lofthouse was a lot older by the time he got done because of his Mormon mission and stuff. So, uh, heck, he was almost 30 by the time he was out of there. It seemed like, but um,
You know,
anyway.
speaking of him coming in at a 49 pounder, because a lot of people had forgotten, since I do a lot of the Dream Team Classics. Max Thompson and Michael Kemmer wrestled each other in high school. So
yeah, a great matchup in Independence.
yeah, and but that's how much he's grown since high school.
So overall, there are 3 pins and 3 majors for Iowa. In that duel against the top 10 teams. So I mean, they're clicking on all cylinders, winning that one 36-6. And heck, Marinelli's in there. You think that's a win, and Brands was close to coming out on top in that match as well. That could have been a sweep. So, yeah, strong performance for them as well. And of course, as we mentioned, Purdue and Ohio State coming up this next week. I really want to talk about UNI. Oklahoma State came through and did their Big 12 Iowa tour. Rest of the UNI in the afternoon, and then Iowa State in the evening. Came away with 2 wins, but I thought there was some really really good individual performances from UNI in that duel. And of course, Parker Keckeisen, probably the most notable. He actually was Big 12 Wrestler of the Week this week for his 4-2 win over Dakota Gear in sudden victory. Sounds like he could have very easily could have won that in regulation, but he had a nice win against Oklahoma. This is a marquee win over Gear. Was ranked, I think, 6th maybe at the time, or certainly top 8. I think this might be kind of a hidden gem to most people.
I just love his activity. I mean, he just goes and goes and goes, and as many shots as he was taking on that match, you'd almost thought he'd got a lot more takedowns. But I don't mean that negatively by not getting them, but I just love his activity. Just go, go, go.
Right, and I had been watching some film on him from last year, and mentioned that he's attacks all the time on his feet. So the interesting thing with in college that I've noticed, and I'm not saying it was in this particular case or this match, but with out of bounds stalling calls so prevalent, you get a lot of those. It's taken away from the other type of stalling sometimes. I think not that there was any of that going on, but the referee's mind doesn't go there. I don't think quite as much. And the refs got a lot to think about and a lot to watch, and they're very busy, even when it looks like the wrestlers aren't too busy. So, but anyway, yeah. So I'm not surprised there, and I'm not surprised that Keegan Moore bumped to 97. I think that needed to happen. I think Terrell was struggling again there at 97th this year. Maybe just give him some time away from the varsity and just see, now's the time to play and see who needs to be there. So,
yeah, it's nice to have that flexibility there as well. You've got somebody, that you can move around, and you got parts that you can plug in, like putting Parker at 84, moving Keegan up, or vice versa, or having, Terrell in there. You've at least got pieces to put in there.
Yeah. Another, not even it's a shining spot for sure, but not a surprise. Brody Teske remained undefeated and beat a ranked wrestler there again. So he's looking pretty tough at 25.
Yeah, and really tough on top. I mean, that's, that shutout win 6-0 over Trevor Mastro Giovanni. He's been really good in the top position.
Yeah, he's been solid basically all year, but what 6-0. He was in control that whole match, and then you want to go up to Biscaglia, another nice win for him at 33.
Yeah, 2-0 win over Reese Whitcraft, and I think maybe we're starting to see things being settled at 133 now. I think that's two straight wins for Biscaglia over decent. Didn't he beat Madrigal from Oklahoma as well?
Right.
So that's wins over Madrigal and Whitcraft in back-to-back duels. So that's we might be seeing things being kind of set at 133 with Biscaglia and instead of Skidlarczyk, but not sure. But yeah, that's another quality win, and he's a kind of guy you look at and think, with each a victory, he's just going to get that much stronger going forward.
Well, you and I did a nice job. I think they had a nice showing, but let's not forget at 133, Oklahoma State was wrestling without number one Dalton Fix, and then at 141, Cade Brock was out of the lineup as well. So number 5 ranked. So
and actually, interestingly, saw today on Twitter that Cade Brock is actually done for the year. His injury, suffered an injury in practice, a season-ending injury, and I believe I can't remember the Oklahoma State writer that mentioned this is his 3rd season-ending injury, which is just terrible. Such bad luck there for Cade Brock.
And a huge hit for Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, is Fix coming back? I mean, I wonder if is he somebody that will be in there?
We'll see.
Yeah.
So, and then Carter Isley, he's somebody that probably gets overlooked a little bit, but he just continues to win, and he got another victory, 8-2. He's been good to start off this season.
It's nice to see. Was he in there the whole time last year? I can't even remember from year to year anymore, but he just looks so much stronger and maybe more active this year than it seems like I remember him from last year.
Right, he was in the lineup last year. Remember, he got the win against Iowa State over Gannon for the team win there. I think it might have even been in overtime, sudden victory maybe. But yeah, for sure, he's looked very good this year, and actually put some points on the board. And so he's also undefeated, I think, still.
So it looks like you and I, its next match is with Northern Illinois this Friday. It's actually at Northern Illinois. So if I remember right, this was kind of a late addition to the schedule, maybe, or something that wasn't in the plan originally, but worked out so they could add matches and everything. So good chance for them to get back on the map before wrestling Arizona State and Northern Colorado and Iowa State on Valentine's Day. But are the West Twins still at Northern Illinois?
Boy, I don't even know.
I think they might be, but
yeah,
because they should be seniors this year. They're
Really quick here,
unless they redshirted or whatever.
Looks like both Bryce and Drew. Bryce at 125, Drew at 133 this season. So
By the way, Isley's win over Harris gave Harris his first loss of the season, and then he suffered his second loss later that night in Ames. So kind of had a rough go.
Yeah, he didn't have a good day then, did he?
That's the way we like it,
right? Yeah.
Speaking of Iowa State, they had 3 duels. They pretty much ran things, blanked Iowa Central 50-0, beat Lindenwood. Lindenwood out of Missouri, 28-9. But Oklahoma State was able to escape with a 16-15 victory in a duel that was very close and could have gone really either way.
Yeah, but then again, you had Fix and Brock that were out of lineup. But it was still been a nice. It still would have been a nice win, within a match, or
the takedown away, because if they get a takedown at 25, 41, or 285, they win the meet.
Yeah,
was the difference there.
So, yeah, and if you want to play the game of they didn't have Fix or Brock, Dagan not in the lineup at 149, or even Cam Robinson, and
Colbray,
so yeah, so you can do that a little bit too, but yeah, it was right there for the taking. Zach Redding with the win. Carr versus Sheets, that's one of the matchups, I think, maybe the top individual matchups there. David Carr coming away with an 8-4 victory. Julian Broderson with the win at 174. So anything kind of stand out to you there at all?
Well, David Carr's, what do you have? Did he have 4 takedowns or 3 takedowns or something? He is so solid and so good on his feet. Just seems like he doesn't get out of position much. I thought that was a great match with Sheets.
Yeah, I was curious to see the score in Broderson's match. It was a 4-1 tiebreaker, and I didn't get to watch it because I was on the road traveling with from Indianola, but fighting the weather. But it's a 3-point decision, and so it must have been an escape takedown. Did you guys?
I believe that's what it was.
In the 30-second tiebreaker.
Yeah. And then of course you got Bastida. He's still learning.
Yeah, he's still learning. And did you happen to see the video? We won't get into it too much, but it was probably one of the funnier things I think I might have seen in a match. The accidental grab, I would say, between Ferrari, AJ Ferrari of Oklahoma State, and younger Bastida. Let's just say that Ferrari might have invaded Bastida's personal space, I guess you could say.
I think he's making feed on social media too.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things that it's just kind of a head scratcher, that happens. But
I guess another interesting thing was that 125 125 looks like they've made their decision, or they're going to live with their decision now anyway, with Terrakina, varsity and
Mackel has left the program now. I believe he decided that he's going to go take care of his family or something like that. So, the writing was kind of on the wall, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. With a shortened season, you don't have much time to play around. You got to make a decision and then let the growth happen with your wrestler. But if Terrakina beat him which it sounded like he did maybe twice. And so he was kind of the man of it for the time anyway. And then, you know, Mackel had to, he's got a baby on the way, and you know, and his fiance, and you know, so he's got to kind of regroup and redirect. And I don't know if he intends to look somewhere else. I think he put himself into the portal, so he may be looking somewhere else. But I know it's not a, you know, according to Coach Dresser, there's no ill feelings on either side.
So Iowa State has the Dakota Tour, North Dakota State and South Dakota State in Fargo on Sunday, the Super Bowl Sunday. They face the Bison at 1 p.m. and then the Jackrabbits at 3 p.m. Those could be two good duels, especially the one with South Dakota State.
South Dakota
Some of those Iowa guys.
Kind of a high rank. They're tied for 30th in the track wrestling rankings I was looking at. Iowa State sitting at 18th. And so, you know, you think it would favor Iowa State, but South Dakota State obviously has some solid kids, especially at 197. We like that one. So.
Yeah, with Tanner Sloan.
Yeah.
He was one of their winners in their last duel. Let's see.
I was a little surprised North Dakota State, who's, you know, the last, maybe even 10 years, they've always had a pretty solid team. So I don't know. You know, they're not ranked in the top, whatever track does, 30 or whatever, maybe even more. And you know, so I was a little bit surprised there. So they might be down for their program.
Just kind of looking, Tanner Sloan's coming off a nice weekend there for the Jackrabbits. He beat number 12 Jake Woodley in the duel against Oklahoma. He beat Woodley 6-1, so that's a quality win. Then he added a fall against Stanford and a tech fall against Arkansas Little Rock, which you know, two dominant wins to go with that quality win over Woodley. He's unbeaten, 10-0. 8 of his wins have been by technical foul or fall. So Tanner Sloan off to a really good start, and he'll probably face Bastida unless something changes for Iowa State there.
Arkansas Little Rock. I didn't know they had wrestling. What? Or they must be division.
They're a D1 program that just started up. Wyatt, do you know, was last season their first season?
No, I don't.
I think last year was their first season.
I think it was too.
And it was one of those rare. They decided they added a program, and one of those rare growth opportunities when we've seen programs being chopped.
Where do they compete? What conference? You know?
I'm not sure as far as conference goes. I believe their coach is Neil Arisman. I'm looking that up here really quick.
Maybe they're in the MAC with Missouri and that group.
And the other thing is, though, you know, these last few years since going to Fargo, you know, there's a lot of kids that wrestle up there from Arkansas. So it's nice that they do have a program.
Yeah, and Neil Arisman is their head coach. I think you'll recognize one of their assistants, Chandler Rogers.
Oh, yeah.
Former Okie State wrestler as well. Let's see.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think this is their second go around and trying to find their schedule to see what they might have for
but going back,
conference affiliation.
But going back,
Pac-12. They're in the Pac-12.
Oh, Pac-12. They go west. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice to have that a lot of Iowa influence in that South Dakota State duel with a lot of those kids, with Price, DeVos, Sloan, and then you got some other kids that are probably redshirting.
I know Marshall Houck from Lisbon is a
Kimball.
freshman up there.
You got Kimball from Bosco.
Yep, Daniel Kimball. He won one of the extra matches this last weekend. Jack Thompson from Union is also up there. Spencer Trineri, the heavyweight from
Clarion.
So a big Iowa flavor there, and of course their assistant coach Cody Caldwell, former UNI and Waverly Shell Rock wrestler. So sounds like he builds a nice rapport with recruits coming in.
Yeah.
As well. So so that's what Iowa State has on the docket here this weekend coming up, touring through the Dakotas. The other thing I want to get into the ARC this weekend. Coach Briggs, you were down in Indianola, Simpson, and there was a pretty competitive duel there between Wartburg and Co. It looked like Wartburg kind of sealed it with a fall at 184, but
174.
Oh, okay. Sorry, 174. But Co made it close, 23-21. Wartburg win.
Right. It's pretty exciting, actually. Might have been the most exciting dual meet of the weekend, the college level, certainly in Iowa. But,
right.
Co had a good game plan and executed it well. They were looking to score off of defensive shots and did a good job of that. For instance, at 125, there was a battle there for the first takedown in the first period, and it was just such a long, hard battle. And finally, it was looking one direction and tipped over to the other direction, and in fact went to back. So it was a 4-point deficit, kind of hard to dig out of. Friedel was able to get the win there over Kiner, who was a ranked wrestler. And then at Joe Pins was kind of behind in the match, and then got ahead and was ahead with about maybe 20 seconds left, shot in and gave up a takedown to lose 5-4. And then at 49, Brady Fritz was ahead and got to his feet, got it in double unders and gave pressure, and you don't do that to Josh Gerke. He'll throw you, which he did, headlocked and pinned him. And so we had three matches right there that really tipped the favor, in the favor of Co. So the 57, 65, and 74 for Wartburg really had to right the ship and put it back into their favor. And it ended up 5 matches for each team, 5 and 5, and it became a bonus point meet. So fortunately, and a nice win actually at 141. 2 ranked wrestlers, the number 2 and number 4 ranked wrestlers. Chris Rump from Wartburg was able to pin Riley Wright from Co. and it was a hard battle, and took him to his back and pinned him late in that match, and then was named the ARC wrestler of the week, which honestly could have went to heavyweight. Caleb Reeves for Co. Was able to pin Jordan Brandon from Wartburg. Brandon Reeves, the number 10 ranked wrestler, Brandon, the number 2 ranked wrestler. And again, that was probably not a very smart match by Brandon. He's a much lighter heavyweight wrestler. Probably could be a 97 pound maybe. But he is, in my opinion, doing things that you don't do to a guy that's probably 50 pounds or more heavier than you, and low shots and things like that. Use your speed and athleticism, but
yeah, and especially somebody with Reeves's penchant for Greco. I'm sure that probably comes into play a little bit too.
It does. In this instance, it was Brandon Jordan. Jordan Brandon took a low shot. Then Reeves was able to get back, use his weight, get it on him, and then in the process of giving up the takedown, went to his back. So,
okay.
One of those. But you're right. He definitely is a Greco thrower, and I wonder where that comes from, Coach O.
And Wartburg wasn't done there either. They wrestled Luther. Looked like maybe a partial lineup or whatever, in a 30-14 win over Luther on Tuesday.
Right. That was last night. I watched that one, and I don't, I think Tuesday. Well, I can say for a fact that one person not in the lineup was a Tuesday night meet. That's just tough. And so, that there's no health issues or anything like that. It was just a Tuesday night meet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't speak for the other two that weren't in the lineup, but I can speak at 125. There was the Buena Vista, no, Simpson, sorry, the Simpson match, in that meet, the 25-pounder headbutted the Wartburg kid, and he was lost on a medical forfeit, so he had to do the concussion protocol, and then they medical forfeited. So I'm sure he wasn't ready to wrestle. That was that Owen McClave, and then Brady Kiner has some other issues, so health issues as well. But other results in the arc, Loris was a convincing winner over Buena Vista, 51-2. KJ, I'm not sure what happened there. Someone did a naughty thing.
Yeah.
He's got irate or something. I don't know. He got rabid.
Hopefully it wasn't too bad. But
then they also handled Luther pretty well, 35-9. Then Luther beat UV 34-14. Central beat Nebraska Wesleyan handily, and University of Dubuque handily, and then UD beat Wesleyan 45-10. So another nice win there for UD. Down at Simpson, Coe and Wartburg both handled Simpson pretty well. 45-6 for Wartburg and 48-6 for Coe.
This has been a different season with the double duels like they're doing this year, or whatever you want to call them, triangulars. Do you think, because I kind of think it's kind of nice when they do it this way, do you think this would hold true in the future? I
don't know. That Coe Wartburg meet would have been a real nice one to spotlight. If you're in you're in a neutral site where there's on a COVID year where there's not much of a crowd, and but if you're in the Coe gym or the Wartburg gym, there's going to be a big crowd and a lot of fun. So that one, Coe was looking. I think that's would have been their first victory since joining the Iowa Conference back in the 90s over Wartburg. So I don't think they've beaten them before. In 1997, 24 years ago. So, they were riding high there for a while and wrestled very well, Coe did.
So this weekend, let's see, Wartburg will host Central and Buena Vista. Coe has Nebraska Wesleyan and Luther coming to town. Loris plays host to Simpson and the University of Dubuque. So that's what we'll have Saturday, as long as everything plays out well. One other thing I wanted to mention too, with area schools, Cornell had an intra-squad duel this weekend, and they're finally going to get a chance to start their competition season this Saturday and Sunday. They host Westminster on Saturday at 10 a.m. and then Rochester Community Technical College on Sunday at 2 p.m. So the Rams finally getting on the mat. And their season is going to be very abbreviated, just a month long, pretty much, as far as competition goes.
I'm not certain on this, but I think the schools that are hosting wrestling this year might have to have 3 competitions for their school to qualify as one of the teams that will be participating in the postseason. And I saw two of the schools out east. They called it creative scheduling. So let's just say school A and school B. So school A is at B one date, then on the second date B is at A, and then on the third date A is at B. So really? They get dates in. It's minimal contact, and they're qualified to wrestle in the postseason. So,
wow.
So how's it looking for the Division threes?
I think we're going to find out this week. I'm nervous. Even if they cancel it right now, there's still more D3 teams than there are D2 and D1. And if they have their tournaments and D3 isn't allowed to have theirs, that just isn't right to me. That's a total injustice.
And just one thing, a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned the threshold of teams that have to have teams. I think because of the situation, I think they might have lowered that threshold for D3 schools. I can't remember the exact number, but I think they might have lowered it to kind of help the cause there a little bit, talking to one of the D3 coaches.
That's good news to hear. I had no. We'll see.
Yeah, I can't remember the specifics that followed it, but talking to one of the coaches about that, I'm pretty sure he mentioned that they just reduced the threshold for D3s to kind of alleviate that problem, but it still doesn't change. Kind of one of the coach's biggest concerns was how the regionals were going to be set up, and everybody knows how tough the lower Midwest region is, and now with some teams not competing out east, it's going to make those regionals a little lighter. So we'll see how that plays out.
Right, and then tack on the fact that they've reduced it from 180 to 125, so 12 and a half wrestlers basically per bracket. I don't know, are they doing that at D1 as well? I know D2 is doing that, but are they doing that with D1, or is it going to be the same number?
I don't think so. I think they're still at the same
34
number of qualifiers.
33 per bracket.
Yeah. So 33 for D1, 12 and a half for D2 and D3.
Yeah.
It has more schools.
Yeah. Doesn't seem right, does it?
Yeah, we need a new governing body.
Any last thoughts or anything I want to bring up college-wise?
D2, Upper Iowa beat Parkside, number 25 Parkside. It's the second time this season that Upper Iowa has beaten the number 25 team. They beat Moorhead a couple weeks ago when they were 25. So they went 6-4 in matches. Some interesting matches at 57. Number 6, Chase Lunsman was a 5-3 sudden victory winner. And then at 174, unfortunately, Dalton Hahn was upset in loss in tiebreaker to the Parkside wrestler. And then at 125, it had to battle 2 ranked kids, and unfortunately, Caden Anderlich was on the short side of that as well. So they next wrestle Augustana, South Dakota, Thursday at 7 p.m.
So that'll be a good battle for them as well. All right. Well, look forward to seeing a lot of those things play out. Super Bowl Sunday, you'll have Iowa State competing. So It is. I can't remember. We just talked about it. You and I in Northern Iowa. Is that on the 7th or the 6th?
You and I, wasn't that Friday night?
Friday night, yeah. Northern Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So no conflict there for Panther fans and Super Bowl watchers. So anyway,
that's kind of what Sunday's plan is, isn't it? Watch wrestling all day and then the Super Bowl.
yeah, right.
What's this Super Bowl you're talking of?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just some football scrimmage, I think, coming up. But
no, actually, I don't follow football very much, at least professionally. I watch college a lot, but happy to see Tristan Wirfs and his family being able to enjoy the Super Bowl this year.
yeah, it's pretty cool, to have Iowa wrestlers like Wirfs, Austin Blythe before him, and I know there have been others, but just recently those guys that have been state champs within the last 10, 12 years to go on and be in a big stage like that, even if it's another sport, it's pretty cool.
That really does.
Tristan was in our wrestling room. Mount Vernon came over for a scrimmage, just a shared practice basically, and a few years ago, and he was, I think, maybe a sophomore then, and barely able to make the 285. I think he had to cut down or something. But you could see right away the guy was so athletic. So I wish the best of him. So.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too, and a lot of people don't realize it. It's not like he came in. Austin Blythe was a little bit different. He was, he's a 4-time finalist. He was more of a polished, not polished. He was a more experienced wrestler. Had done it for a while. Tristan wasn't that way. I know. I think of Blake Rowland, who was a state finalist for Washington. I think they had a similar maybe mentality to start out with, where they'd be more apt to get up and hug their opponent after a match than want to do any harm to them. They were such gentle giants, really. But like Blake got tougher and kind of flipped that switch a little bit to realize, hey, when you're competing, you're no buddies, there's no friends. You can be nice after the match is over. I think Tristan had to get to that point, and he had a losing record as a freshman, and then each year he just continually got better and better, and then was pretty dominant as a senior and really good as a junior. That's something that a lot of people don't realize, that he worked his way up to that point.
Right, and then to add on with Tristan, I mean, to show what an incredible athlete he was a state champion discus thrower and had, I think, the 3rd longest toss, maybe the 2nd longest toss in the history of high school athletics with his discus, behind Doug Lane from Jefferson, 1968, I think, or 69, 68.
Yeah.
That's the longest track record in the book, and he's right on knocking on the door. That same year, there was another athlete in the state that was also knocking on the door. But they didn't get it.
So yeah, pretty amazing. Hey, Coach, do you have you make the call for us, and we'll transition into our prep stuff?
I sure do. Let's get to it. Let's see. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Ready for this one? In a pinning situation, the defensive wrestler reaches up and pushes the face with the hands over the mouth and nose of the offensive wrestler. Should the referee, A, do nothing as this is legal, B, stop action and award a penalty point for an illegal hold, C, move the hand of the defensive wrestler away and award a penalty point once the situation has ended, or D, stop the match and refer to the rule book for confirming the ruling?
Well, What was the first one?
Do nothing as this is legal. B is to stop action and award the penalty point for illegal. And C is to move the hand of the defensive wrestler away. And D is to go to the rule book and see if you have the rule right. So D was meant to be funny.
And E is none of the above.
Yeah.
I would say C.
See?
I say C as well.
That is correct. Yeah. So the referee allows, because if you stop the match at that point in time, that helps the defensive wrestler that's getting pinned. So
right.
Now, let me ask you this. If the referee moves the hand away and then the defensive wrestler comes back and goes over the mouth again, what's the call?
Pin.
You know what? Probably a lot of refs might do that. I don't know.
I gave you one shot.
You're close enough. You're
yeah.
So anyway, no, the referee will move the hand away and allow the wrestling to happen. And if he gets off his back, he'll award 2 points, 1 and 1 for both.
Okay.
So you can get, the same penalty can happen. So,
all right.
So there you go. Good job. Both got it right.
I've seen that occur. Not the penalty point, because usually it ends in a pin.
Yeah.
But I've seen, the only reason why I kind of had an idea was that I've actually seen officials remove a hand from the face. Usually it's like
that actually happened. It's at the state tournament. My son Kyle was wrestling a Southeast Polk wrestler, and Kyle had him on his back, and he was doing that. And Chris Meineke was the ref, and he told me, I was in my head, I was counting how many times, because he kept pulling away and kept going back and was pretty flagrant about it. And so it kind of made Kyle mad and got the pin. But and then so the kid stands up and says something to Kyle, and he says, "Let's take it outside." And I didn't know this until the next year, because I see these shirts that Southeast Polk is wearing that says, "Let's take it outside." And it was because of that match they made shirts.
Oh, interesting. Well, this weekend, unfortunately, a little thin as far as competition goes, between cancellations and then weather cancellations. The MVC Super Meet was canceled well before this weekend. Weather came through and kind of wiped out some of the tournaments, like the Tri-Rivers Conference and the River Valley Conference. I know the South Iowa Cedar League Conference moved sites and didn't have everybody there. The Upper Iowa Conference moved things to Friday. WAMAC moved things to Monday. The Northeast Iowa Conference still wrestled on Saturday. I think the MAC was still on Saturday, right, Wyatt?
Right. Yeah, and they had everybody there, which going in with the weather and everything, I didn't know if everybody would show up, but everybody showed up.
Hey KJ, I know it's not necessarily our area, but the CIML was kind of a strange deal. I saw that they had a CIML up at Fort Dodge, I believe it was, and 6 teams were there. So I don't know if they went into pods or if only 6 showed up, or how that was. Do you guys know?
Well, I think they're kind of, I think they're somewhat, how do I say it? I think they're kind of breaking that conference up a little bit. I'm not real sure on how that's all working, but if you notice, they called that the Iowa Conference. With Fort Dodge, was it Ankeny Centennial, maybe Johnston? I can't remember who all else was in there, but yeah. But I think they're going into more pods. Maybe they're all under the umbrella of the CIML. I'm not real sure how that's working to get all the Des Moines schools in one little pod. So I'm not real sure how that's all working, because Waukees going to split in another year, too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So, KJ, to follow up with a lot of teams conferences canceling, I think it was easier this year to do that for a variety of reasons. The COVID, I think, was obviously a big reason. Weather was kind of what initiated it late anyway. With, for instance, the Tri-Rivers, am I thinking that's right, with Lisbon already out, so now it's, probably made it a little easier to, well, they're not in, let's not have the tournament since there's bad weather sort of thing. So I think that a lot of things weighed in on the decision to make it a little bit easier to cancel. Even the WAMAC that went to Monday had just 7 teams that competed, and a lot of those were partial. So, like Independence had a number of their wrestlers out that didn't wrestle. I think they had 7 that didn't wrestle Thursday night, KJ, I noticed. So
Yeah. One of the tournaments that kind of carried on as normal was the Northeast Iowa Conference. Waverly Shell Rock came away with a team title. No surprise there. Have you guys seen the results from there and just how strong Waverly looked?
Pretty much Waverly with 11 finalists and 8 champs, and their other 3 weights were third. So all 14 were in the top 3.
Yeah, speaking of how strong they are, you could almost have a good contention that they may be one of the better dual teams in the state as well. We always talk about West Delaware, but Waverly is really looking solid through this last month.
Well, when West Delaware and Waverly wrestled early it was way early in the season, and I think Waverly Shellrock had quite a few out of their lineup. So
right.
We'll look at Waverly Shellrock here coming up too, because the regional dual pairings for 3A have been released. The host sites for the other 2 classes were released as well, but obviously those pairings won't be determined until after the sectional tournaments are complete. But just with the Northeast Iowa Conference, some of the things that kind of stood out, Jackson Rolfs came away with the 145-pound title for Decorah. He became a 4-time NEIC champ. Want to take a guess on how many 4-time champs?
17.
18.
There you go.
That's good.
17.
Why I knew that?
70, why is that?
I read your article.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. He became the 17th 4-time champ, just the second in Decorah's history. And of course, the only other one is his head coach, Lee Fullhart, who did it from 91 to 94. So a pretty neat accomplishment there for Jackson Rolfs of Decorah.
Yeah, and to me, when I saw that, it's almost like a quiet 4-timer, because you don't, at least around here, you don't hear a whole lot about him. And then to be a 4-time Northeast Iowa Conference champ is quite an accomplishment, and especially when you narrow it down to him and Lee Fullhart.
Yeah, out of those 2, and they've had some, quality wrestlers. The Full Sauce brothers,
Bruce Kinseth,
yep, for sure. And then Kittleson, Ryan Kittleson as well. There have been some really, really good wrestlers to come out of there for Decorah, and for him to be a 4-timer, that's pretty cool. And of course, mentioned Waverly's dominance. They scored 287.5 points. Crestwood was second with 206. The WAMAC, you mentioned the WAMAC, Dick, just kind of a partial tournament there. West Delaware kind of blew through that. But speaking of the WAMAC competition, we had the pleasure of calling last Thursday's duel between Independence and West Delaware, and I don't know about you, but I thought that was one of the more fun duels that we've experienced.
Yeah, for sure. And some real good battles. It started at a good place, I think, for independents and for us.
Yeah.
Because it started at heavyweight, which was a forfeit, and then so the first match was at 106, where and then the next by 6 or 7 weights, maybe somewhere in there, were very competitive back and forth until it got into the strength of West Delaware's lineup up in their upper weights. But some interesting matches. Obviously, 132 with Vasky and O'Brien wrestling. O'Brien, the #1 ranked wrestler, returning state runner-up, and leading the match. Matter of fact, at the end of the first period, he was up by 12. And I mentioned that the independence coaches, about midway through the second period, I noticed that the momentum has changed, and O'Brien was looking a little tired, and I said, at the end of the beginning of the second period, the independence coaches are probably looking for a way to get the pin rather than the tech fall, leading by 12, right? And now halfway through the second period, they're going, let's just get the tech fall and get out of this. That's probably their mindset. And then in the third period, got in a scramble, and not a scramble, but O'Brien was going for a tilt position, and Vasky kind of bridged up and was able to get the defensive fall, which was,
But as a bystander sitting at home watching, listening to you guys and watching the duel, that was an absolutely great duel. If you're sitting at home watching it, it's not the same as being there, but I'll tell you, it was a lot of fun to watch. And it's too bad they didn't have an intermission of some kind, because you had to sit and hold it the whole time. You didn't have time to go.
That's
But
true.
I'm seriously though, it was an absolutely great. It was an absolutely great duel.
Yeah.
Yep. And of course, those West Delaware hammers at the end there just kind of put things away. But one other item of note, with the WAMAC, Isaiah Weber was one of the independence wrestlers that made the trip over, and he won the 138-pound title. That's his third. He's a junior. So, speaking of four-time conference champions, he has a chance to do that next year now that they had it. And that's one of the things that he could have missed out on if they didn't reschedule this. It was part of those Saturday dual tournaments that were wiped out at first. But West Delaware offered to host. Of course, it's probably easier. You've got a good following there, not to mention you're one of the favorites, so you definitely want to have that tournament. But the bonus for somebody like Isaiah Weber is you have a chance to be a four-time conference champion in a wrestling-rich conference like the WAMAC. That's pretty good and pretty fortunate for him that they offered to host on Monday, and teams were willing to compete and reschedule with sectionals just 5 days away.
And even though there was only 7 teams there, and it went pretty fast, but by the time you got to the finals, there was actually some pretty good finals matches. Even at heavyweight, I can't think of the kid's name from Makokata, but Pelton got in kind of a little scramble situation, and he was on his back for a little while in that match, and of course he's Pelton, with that athleticism that he has, came around on top and pinned him. But still, even that was a great match, even though it ended up in a pin.
Wyatt, did the MAC surprise you at all? With North Scott coming out on top, or did you have an idea of North Scott than Bettendorf?
No, I really didn't. And still, to be honest with you, I don't know if both teams have their full lineups. But like I had mentioned, you get into some of these smaller tournaments, and who knows how the state will turn out. as far as how they place higher or lower. But North Scott has still got a solid team as well as Bettendorf. We had mentioned about Ella Schmidt at 106 for Bettendorf.
Mhm.
And she's a little hammer, let me tell you. But I don't know if it really surprised me. I guess I didn't look into it that much to see how they would actually fare.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. I don't know how to even answer you as far as what to expect out of those guys. The one I I am surprised about, and maybe I didn't think too much about them at the beginning of the year, is Pleasant Valley. I think they have improved a lot this year.
Really.
Um, you know, Almost on the same token as Linn-Mar, as we talked about them the week before. Um, and maybe I didn't expect too much out of either one of those schools, but I thought both of those schools have really improved a lot this year, at least in my opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was looking at the results and I noticed that in 13 weights, either the number 1 or 2 seeded wrestler won it. The only exception was at 152, where the 4th seed beat the 3rd seed in the final. So
Really.
both, go figure. That's the one weight they missed the 1 and 2 seeds.
But then if you go back into that weight, that was maybe not one of the most solid weights either.
Right. The records didn't. I looked at that.
Right.
Kind of a guess, I think, so it's not surprising there. But my point is that by the seeds and that sort of thing, the team scores kind of probably weren't a surprise based on the seeds. If you happen to be in the seeding meeting and you saw that.
Yeah, and the other thing would be, and I didn't look into it maybe quite like you did, Dick, but um, maybe North Scott had a few more 3rd and 4th place finishers versus Bettendorf, to get those few extra points to win the conference that they may not get at the state tournament.
Right. I didn't look at the 3rd and 4th real close, but North Scott had 4 firsts, 4 seconds, and Bettendorf had 5 champs and 2 seconds. So that would kind of lend it to what you're saying there, maybe.
Well, this weekend the postseason begins. 1A and 2A will have sectional meets. Um, anything really kind of stick out to you guys as far as the sectionals go? I can say, for me, it looks like it's nothing new. Northeast Iowa always has a gauntlet to get through, even from the sectional tournaments on. And it seems to be a little bit more of the same. At Decorah, you've got Crestwood, New Hampton, Decorah, Charles City, North Fayette Valley, and Waukon up there. Independence, you've got Independence and Union kind of leading the way. You've got Williamsburg up there as well. And then you've got individuals from Benton Community and Vinton Shellsburg, and then Oline rounds out those 6 teams. Um, Between those 2 alone, it's there's going to be some good kids not moving on and have season come to an end. Uh, that might not be the case if they were uh, somewhere else. And
But
West we've got and some individuals from CPU and Waller Mount Vernon as well.
but don't you think, as a generalization, that some of the top teams at least were separated this year?
Yeah,
I think for the most part.
and every year you're going to have that.
Right.
You can't really get away from it or avoid that. For instance, you've got maybe in a district or a sectional, from my 3A point of view, a district where you've got 4, maybe 5 top 10 ranked kids at one weight in your district, and then you go to a district maybe out west that has 1 or 0 ranked wrestlers in it, and then so then you get kids coming to the state tournament, and from that district that didn't have ranked wrestlers, and then from the district in eastern Iowa you're leaving two or three at home. So that's going to happen. I don't know how you avoid it.
I guess that's what I was kind of getting at is
especially with the
top teams. At least I thought that they were kind of separated a little bit because you're still going to have that where you have a lot of good kids. Maybe not a full team strength with it, but I guess I kind of look at the what sectional was that or district was that West Delaware. Central DeWitt's got a few good kids in there. Maybe not a whole full team, but they got some good kids in there. So you're going to have some good kids probably staying home, but at least the team part of it was separated.
right.
Yeah.
Here are some of the other area Eastern Iowa sectionals. Comanche, DeWitt Central, Macokota, Solon, Tipton, and West Liberty will be at DeWitt. Then you've got BCL, UW, East Marshall, Grinnell, Nathan Grinnell, Nevada, who's hosting, and then South Tama and West Marshall rounds out that field as well. Davenport Assumption we'll have Columbus, Keokuk, Mount Pleasant, Notre Dame, West Burlington, and Washington, Iowa. Of course, Notre Dame, West Burlington, Notre Dame down from 3A, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then at Albia, you've got Albia, Centerville, Davis County, Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont, which had been a 1A school for a little while. And now they're up. Fairfield and Mid Prairie. So those are some of the area sectionals in 2A. In 1A, not to count out any other teams or anything, but the Lisbon sectional, my goodness, that's one team and the rest, isn't it? There you got Lisbon, Bellevue, Durant, Midland, North Cedar, Northeast, and West Branch. But certainly Lisbon well out in front and certainly have a chance to move on double digit qualifiers.
Right. And that was looking through that bracket, because Midland's got a couple decent wrestlers. North Cedar's got a couple, but, like Bellevue only probably has a half a dozen kids on the lineup. And so, and I don't think North Cedar has a full lineup. Probably Northeast Goose Lake doesn't either. And, you're going to have some pretty dang small brackets up at that sectional. Mm-hmm. And like you say, Lisbon is just Lisbon is by itself up there almost, or over there by itself.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, you have good individuals,
right.
Like, Midland will have a couple, including Damon Houston. I think he's at 126, right?
Right.
North Cedar has one or two competitive kids as well. So you'll have some of that, but for the most part, yeah.
Right. And when you're in that sectional, or you're in the district that pairs up with that sectional, you're going, geez, if Lisbon qualifies with 12, I don't know how many they'll get. You're going the other schools are fighting for those other 16 spots, So
exactly. And that's kind of the way I look at that Columbus sectional up there with Don Bosco. They've got basically the kind of the same format as Lisbon. And the other schools are going to be fighting for the other 12 spots. Alburnette's got a couple decent kids. Hudson's got a couple decent kids. In fact, at 160, you got Entrican and Frost in sectionals. You're going to fight their way all the way to state and maybe the state finals.
Yeah, that you mentioned that Columbus sectional. It's Alburnett, Central City, Waterloo, Columbus, Don Bosco, Hudson, Meskwaki Settlement and North Tama, and they're paired with uh, Baxter, Belle Plaine, BGM, English Valleys, HLV, Iowa Valley, Montezuma, um, who wrestle sectionals at North English, and that could be a pretty interesting district just because those South Iowa Cedar League teams always have one or two good individuals. Each team just seems to be competitive. We'll have some guys kind of sneak through and wrestle really well in the postseason. So that could be a fun district as well when those two meet up. MFL will be hosting, and they'll actually have a pretty busy postseason. I'll mention the regional duels here in a second, but MFL will have Elkader, Denver will make the move over there, Edco, Postville, Starmont, Sumner Fredericksburg, Wapsie Valley, and there's other sectional that they'll meet up with the districts is at Cascade. Aiden Noonan starting his track for a third title. Cascade hosts Dyersville Beckman, which had some nice wins in the WAMAC tournament on Monday, if I remember right. So they've got a few good kids. Clayton Ridge, East Buck, Jessup, Maquoketa Valley, and of course North Lynn will be up there as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping that'll be a pretty decent sectional, as that's where I'm headed.
So this is something that comes up about this time each year, and I know Dukes and UNash asked you about it on the radio. Are our sectional tournaments numbered? Are the days of the sectional numbered, and should they be?
I don't. I guess my opinion is they should be, and I guess maybe more so on the 1As than I do the 2As, just because of the limited teams. I mean, you just don't have full teams anymore.
Right. I agree, and I really was hoping that that would be the case when they're looking or considering the possibility of moving state duels, so that we could see this weekend open up for state duels, and then have everybody in a district format. On the following weekend, on district weekend. So I agree with you, especially in 1A. The 1 year at Lisbon covering their 1A sectional, they started at noon and were done by 2:30, 3 o'clock, right around there. It was so quick.
That was a section?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And the other thing is, I've seen some of these sectionals where you had one kid in a bracket.
Uh-huh.
So then you're going to districts with only a 3-man bracket at districts.
Right. Yeah, we've seen that. So, it's something that needs to be corrected. I mean, if the numbers aren't growing and you're not able to have the bodies, then something needs to change there. But I don't know what the exact right answer is, though.
No. And it's not the first time. I thought if the state's ever going to do or venture out and try something different, this would be the year. It would be the first time. When I was in high school, it was a 3-year high school, and all 3 years state tournament had a different format and qualifying to get to state. Like I was at Jefferson Greta, a 3A school that had, my senior year had sectionals on it seemed like Monday night or whatever. And then districts were on it was a 2-day districts. So it was I believe Wednesday and Thursday night, and then state was like a 12-man bracket or something, and it was different every all 3 years. Then you had 3 people that qualified. I know my junior year we had 3 so first, second, and third from each district qualified. The first champion didn't have a match first round. Second wrestled third, and anyway, so it's just not so. So it hasn't been like they haven't through the years, kind of tried different methods. So I thought this year, if they're ever going to do it, it might be this year, or like you're saying, maybe next year. So we'll see. I don't know what the state will do.
Yeah, we'll see. I think anything we've learned over the last 10 months, don't take anything for granted, and don't write it in with pen, because it could change
in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, KJ.
Yeah.
I had some other high school, a couple of stories. One, on Friday night, there was a triangular at Iowa City High that had Iowa City Liberty and Cedar Falls, and Bruce Ennin and I were officiating it. It was an interesting story. And for the record, Iowa City Liberty is really improving. They lost both meets. They lost to City High 36-34, and they gave up 2 forfeits, and Iowa City High gave up 1 forfeit. So on the mat, they actually outscored City High.
Wow.
And then they lost 42-33 to Cedar Falls and gave up 12 points, 2 forfeits.
Mm-hmm.
Falls gave up none. So they actually beat them on the mat as well.
Oh, wow.
In there. So then Iowa City High and Cedar Falls wrestled each other and tied 39-39. So it went to tiebreaker. And after we figured out that the person doing track put in a penalty point that didn't belong there, we got past the second tiebreaker, because we knew there were no penalty points. On Sportsman or Flagrant, you would remember those. So we got that figured out, and it went clear down to the 10th tiebreaker. And that tiebreaker was the most near fall points scored in the meet. And City High had 13, Cedar Falls had 8. And Coach Ortner made the point, just comment, as he, softly, he's a very soft-spoken man and not upset, just kind of tongue-in-cheek maybe. I said, we probably should have let him up and taken him down. Well, that did happen at one weight in City High's favor, which ended up being the meet. The difference in the meet, quite possibly.
Wow.
And then anyway, so you kind of, some people might think that that's unsportsmanlike to let them off of the back and take them down and let them up and get near falls and that sort of thing. So it's an interesting thing there. On Saturday, and while I was at City High, I happened to go over and look at their records and was checking out the records. Well, Saturday I met Simpson. You know who the assistant coach at Simpson is? Jeff McGinnis.
Oh yeah.
And so I bumped into Jeff McGinnis, 4-time state champ and undefeated wrestler, and 172-0, I think, in his career. And I said, I told him I had done the Iowa City meet, and I said, I was looking at the wrestling records, and I said, you were a pretty good wrestler in high school. And he laughed, and he immediately turned it away from himself and said, Ben Keeter. And I said, yeah, that guy is a freak, man. He's huge for a sophomore. He's just a big kid and very talented. And so I think Jeff might see Ben pushing him for the records and that sort of thing. So, which I think Jeff would be more than happy with. He was turning the conversation towards Ben and not away from himself. So anyway.
Oh, for sure.
Here's another story that I wanted to share. This is kind of neat. Bruce Ennin shared this with me. We were talking about the storm that was coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
The next day that I was going to have to be traveling from Indianola back to Cedar Rapids. Anyway, so he told me about a story. I think you'll enjoy this.
Okay.
Bruce Ennin is a longtime Hall of Fame official, and this is back in the 80s. He didn't know exactly what year, but he was traveling he was in Waverly, and he was traveling with Dale McDonald, who was another official that was doing the Big 8 tournament at one of the Waterloo schools. So they traveled from out west, like Gilmore City, I think he's from, or that area, and one was from Fort Dodge. Anyway, so they're jumped in the car and they're heading back, and they got on the west side of I-35, and they're just past Blairsburg, he said, and a blizzard hit, a whiteout blizzard hit, and they couldn't see anything. So they ended up, here's how they're navigating on Highway 20, which back then I'm sure was 2-lane, right?
Uh-huh.
Or was it? I don't know out west of it.
And at that time, it probably didn't go all the way through. You used to have to go up around through like Applington or Parkersburg,
Right.
and then catch it again on the west side.
Right, and they were on the west side of that, so that part. Anyway, so they so here's how they're traveling. Because it was so windy, they did it this way. Bruce, the driver, sitting in the driver's seat, opened his door while Dale, in the passenger seat, was steering the car. And Bruce is looking down, looking for the side of the road so they didn't go off.
Oh my gosh!
Because it's blizzard, they can't see the hood on around their car. Well, eventually, they see a light. It's not too far off of the road, so they pull over. We got to pull over. So they pull up to this house, and it's a small house, and it's owned by a young couple that has an infant baby. Right. So they get to the house. They get in there. The entire Fort Dodge wrestling team and another couple is there. That includes this other couple, the coaches for Fort Dodge, the wrestlers for Fort Dodge, the cheerleaders for Fort Dodge. Well,
oh, really?
You get in there, what can they do? They're staying in this house trying to survive, right? And this couple was very nice. And so they said when they laid down to go to bed, they were shoulder to shoulder. There was no room, space. And evidently the heavyweight, which was super heavyweight back then, was claustrophobic. So he'd have to, in the middle of the night, this time, have to get up and run outside. Well, this lasted for 2 nights. It was so bad they had to stay there for 2 nights.
Wow!
Food. They had to ration the food that the couple had, and they ran out of food. Eventually, 2 days later, they were able to get home and survive. But what a story! Can you believe it?
Oh my gosh!
And not only that, the next morning of the first night, they looked out the window and saw a car behind Bruce's vehicle. And they go, what the heck? So they went out and looked at it. There was 2 guys in that. He said they were blue from cold, right? They got them in as well. So the next day and night, they had 2 more people.
Wow.
So my question is there anyone out there that has a story that's as harrowing as that or as crazy as that? I know I have one, but I'm not going to share it now. But.
Yeah. If you do, send it to us. We'd love to share it and see what tales are out there as far as that goes. Geez, I was getting ready to pipe up about my ride home from state wrestling 2 or 3 years ago when blizzard hit that Saturday night. I elected to drive through. I thought, hey, I could get out in front of this, and it ended up moving with me all the way to where I called my wife at Chris, when I left about 11 o'clock, 11:30, and I threw the phone in the passenger seat, and I said, I'm going to yell out exit numbers as I pass them because I couldn't see the road. I couldn't hardly see anything.
So they knew where to look for you is what you're doing, right?
Yeah. I was like, if all of a sudden you don't hear from me or I don't respond, you have the last exit number to know, possibly where I'm at. But I made it home safe and sound. It's nothing like what Bruce experienced, for goodness sakes. Luckily, I just kept it slow, and I think I actually got behind one of the vans. I think it was a school district van for a team that in the Quad Cities or East. I can't remember exactly who it was. I think I got behind them for a little ways, and that helped. But
yeah, KJ's hollering out the exit numbers, and it's not like they had cell phones back there with Bruce.
Yeah, right.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to hear if we got it from people. Let's like we mentioned, regional duels for 3A were released. I'm just gonna give the sites for the 2A and 1A regional duels really quick. So the hosts for 2A will be Assumption, Creston, Crestwood, Independence, Osage, Sergeant Bluff, Luton, West Delaware, and Winterset. In 1A, Don Bosco, Lake Mills, Lisbon, Logan Magnolia, MFL Marmac, West Hancock, West Sioux, and Woodbury Central. And with that mentioned, I just saw someone posted recently that earlier this season, Coach Michael Doyle from Independence reached 400 career victories, putting him in the top 20. So congratulations to Coach Doyle. But in 3A, your hosts will be Bettendorf, Fort Dodge, Linn-Mar, North Scott, Norwalk, Southeast Polk, Hawkeyes, and Waverly Shell Rock. Bettendorf will get the winner of Cedar Falls, Western Dubuque. Fort Dodge will get the winner of Indianola and Lamar's. Linn-Mar awaits the winner of Dubuque Hempstead and Pella, which I think could be one of the more compelling duels, assuming Hempstead gets through. Iowa City West heads to Eldridge to wrestle Pleasant Valley, and the winner gets to host North Scott. Norwalk, it's Ankeny and Ottumwa, and Norwalk will get the winner there. Southeast Polk awaits the winner of Dowling and Johnston, while Key will get the winner of Ankeny Centennial and Dallas Center Grimes. And then an interesting Cedar Rapids Xavier and Cedar Rapids Prairie will face off with Waverly Shell Rock Wrestling, the winner in that one.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun going up to Waverly and then wrestling. Typical
Right.
Iowa weather hits and that sort of thing.
Yeah, especially when Prairie and Xavier are only about 15 to 20 minutes apart, and they're going to go up to Waverly to wrestle that one, and one of them will head back home, and the other one will have the chore of facing Waverly Shell Rock. So,
right. And we should remind people, like I was reminded just earlier today by you guys, that 3A is already determined by the rankings. 1A and 2A will be determined by the first and the champion and runner-up teams at each of the sections, right?
right, correct. And no, it's got to be a pretty big deal. There are some teams that we know don't, opt out of duels and stuff like that. But a team like Xavier, I would bet this is their first regional dual appearance. They might have had something like that when with Xavier or LaSalle before they merged, but I'm pretty sure this is Xavier's first regional dual appearance, and that's got to be pretty big for them, I would think.
I think you're right, and Ryan and company have done a real nice job over there, and I've got to watch them more than once this year, and I'm very impressed with the wrestlers, and just good job there.
Yeah, they've got 4 guys I think are like 110 and 4 or something like that. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Christian Stanek, Ivan Thomas, Galen Sonnen kind of lead the way there. Pretty impressive. Ryan Volk, I think, is the 4th one there.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I mean, I think, Ankeny, Norwalk could be kind of interesting if they end up facing each other, which I think they should. Linn-Mar and Dubuque Hempstead, that's one that could be an interesting one as well. And maybe Iowa City West and North Scott, depending on whether or not Iowa City West has everybody, and they have guys that could rack up bonus points, and that could give them a fighting chance here.
Yeah, I think you're right. And actually, there's quite a few of those districts or those duels that could be pretty interesting. You were talking about the West North Scott, Hempstead, Linn-Mar, and the other one, because I don't know how strong a dual team Fort Dodge really is. And maybe they're stronger than I think, but that winner of Indianola and Fort Dodge may be an interesting one as well.
Yeah. So it'll be fun to see how that plays out. And of course, 1A and 2A are on Tuesday, February 9th, 3A will be on next Wednesday as well. So do you want to close up with 5 questions really quick?
I'm ready.
All right. So the first question is, what is your favorite sport outside of wrestling?
Participating or watching?
Either one, I guess.
Anyway,
Yeah, I just said your favorite sport outside of wrestling.
I don't. It's getting down to where I enjoy softball so much, and it's kind of a toss up between softball and football.
I'm kind of right there with you a little bit. A baseball, softball are probably my two favorite outside of wrestling. And I'm kind of an odd duck too. I like soccer. I like soccer. So
You speaking of soccer, I don't watch a lot of soccer, except I just love watching the World Cup.
oh sure.
Those are some athletes.
I like the sport that's on, I guess. But I coached soccer for 5 years. I was the first girls soccer coach at Jeff, and then I coached both my kids in the youth. So I certainly understand it like that a lot. But personally, the sport that I've been involved with the most is skydiving. I have 2,050 skydives and over 24 hours of logged freefall time. So I don't do it as much anymore, just because of age, and the guys that I used to jump with have kind of stopped doing it. So, and I also kind of stopped doing it. But so I guess skydiving.
Did you ever base jump, Briggsy?
No, if I had an opportunity, the only place I would do it is off of El Capitan. That's 3,000 feet high.
Oh wow!
But that's illegal. So most base jumps are.
Oh okay, I didn't know that.
Like there's a bridge out in West Virginia that they open one for 8 hours, 1 day a year, I believe, and it's like 800 feet high. And I'm like, no, thank you. But I have some friends that have done it. Quite a few friends that have done it, but I'm not interested. No thanks. And it's over a river, so you have a small landing area over the river. So.
Okay, so question number 2: does pineapple go on pizza?
If you ask my wife, pizza isn't a pizza without pineapple. So that's all we get. So yes.
I'm a meat and potato meat and potatoes eater, but I'm an all meat pizza guy. But I have had pineapple on pizza, and it actually is pretty good.
I'm glad both of you said that because I will die on this hill, and I don't care who doesn't like it. Pineapple belongs on pizza. It's just perfectly fine. If you can throw onions on a pizza, then you can throw pineapple on a pizza. You can throw anchovies on a pizza. You can throw pineapple on a pizza. I don't care. Pizza with pineapple is still pizza, and depending on who makes it, it's still good pizza. So the people that don't like pineapple, I think you need to look in the mirror, reevaluate your life, and get on board with pineapple on pizza. I don't care. It's something I'm passionate about. I don't. Anyway, favorite game show. You have a favorite game show?
Well, in this day and age, and as old as this show is, because we didn't watch a whole lot of it, but you can't hardly get away from Vanna White and the Wheel of Fortune.
No,
Does Survivor fall under the category umbrella
of a game show?
That's actually a good question because there is a contest to it. I guess the reality / game show could be, there's a prize at the end, right? There's a monetary prize that they're playing for. Yeah, I would say it fits.
Then Survivor.
Okay, all right. I don't know how many people really know about these two when I was younger, whenever I was homesick, I used to like watching Sale of the Century. It was a real quirky. It was on NBC. The one I really like now, outside of Jeopardy, love watching Jeopardy, but Cash Cab. That is, I love that. Ben Bailey is a really energetic guy. I think it's a really neat concept, and I think it's pretty cool. So I like watching Cash Cab.
What's that one that had the briefcases and the?
Deal or No Deal?
Oh yeah, that one. Is that still
I don't think so,
on? Okay.
but that was a good one as well. Okay, this is a little. You might have to think on this one. Who is the most influential teacher you've ever had?
Oh boy.
Man.
You know, when I was in second grade, my aunt was actually my teacher, but I had to call her by her last name. I couldn't call her by her first name.
Really?
Yeah.
You still had to call it Mrs. and.
Unless we were at home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the guys up in Postville are going to laugh at me, but I'm going to probably say Mrs. Klemp.
Mrs. Klump. Is that who your aunt was?
No, it isn't. She was the English teacher because they laugh at me at my English skills right now. So that's that's why it's kind of a maybe a little pun.
Gotcha.
All right, so spending my whole career in education, so you never stop learning, right? You're always around teachers. So I get to eliminate my coaches because in high school and in college because I didn't really have them as teachers. So so they're eliminated. That makes it easy for me. Sorry, Coach McNeil and Coach Patton and others. And so I'm going to go with the one that influenced me the most and continued to influence me as a teacher, as a co-teacher, and as a friend is Jim Cox. He still is the best, and what an incredibly gifted teacher.
I really had to think about this a little bit. I really think when it came down to it, there are two people. There's in high school. I had an English teacher or a language arts teacher named Martin Pearson, who really introduced me to really kind of a love help kind of stoke a fire for literature and for reading. And he also loved wrestling, so he was somebody that would always talk wrestling with me when I sat down before class and stuff like that. Which included ribbing me really bad after watching me get beat by Brad Pike in a sophomore meet once. By the way, Briggsy. but Martin Pearson, and then I had a philosophy teacher named Peter Steinfeld in college that I really enjoyed. So both of them were pretty good for me. So then the last question is, what are your Super Bowl predictions?
I'm going to go with Cheetos
You're going to go with
over Coke. Isn't it about the commercials?
yeah, right. There you go.
That'll have to be next week's question.
Speaking of that, Budweiser not advertising during the Super Bowl. I heard.
Oh wow!
I heard they have something else planned, but not. You won't see the Clydesdales this Super Bowl.
All right. As I understand, Tom Brady's the guy everyone likes to hate because he's won so much, right? But holy cow, how can you hate the guy? He's always there. I mean, so I'm going to have to go with Tristan Wirfs at worse than Tom Brady.
Well, this is nothing against Wirfs, but maybe the little younger Mahomes. So I'll go with KC.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to avoid any friction with family. I have a lot of Chiefs fans in my family, so I'm gonna go with Kansas City knocking off Tampa Bay to win their second straight. I'm gonna say we're looking at 27-17.
Okay.
Kansas City over Tampa Bay. So there's my Super Bowl prediction. But of course, we'll watch the Super Bowl after wrestling, right?
Pretty much.
Yep. So, all right.
That's what I say. We gotta sit in front of the TV or sit in the couch all day.
Yeah, there you go. It'll be a good day for it. Any last words?
No, looking forward to sectional. See how they come out this weekend. There'll be just like every other year. There'll be some surprises.
Where are you going to be at? You're going to go to Cascade or MFL?
Yeah, I'm going to Cascade.
Cascade, okay.
Is the Mississippi Valley Junior Varsity Tournament this weekend or something?
Usually is.
At Xavier.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to go help Ryan set up on Friday night and then head up to Cascade on Saturday.
Okay. Are you officiating or are you going to be a fan this weekend, Briggsy?
Both. I'm a fan on Saturday. I'm in Waverly watching a triangular there with Wartburg. And then Sunday, I'm officiating the AAU regional qualifier that's generally held at Prairie. I think because of COVID, they're not allowing that. So it's going to be at Benton Community.
Okay. All right. So that's Saturday, Sunday. And then Saturday, I'll be at the sectional at Independence. The 2A went up there. Looking forward to see Independence and Union kind of battle it out there in the team race. And then Sunday, I'll be monitoring the Iowa duels against Purdue and Ohio State. So we'll do that before the big game. All right. So another fun week. Appreciate, as always, chatting with you guys. Wyatt, why don't you send us home?
Let's keep wrestling on the move.
Thanks, everybody.